This is Jim Daniels with the Midsouth Sprint Car Association. Alongside me is Ethan Kaiser, my sidekick for the season. I want to talk a little bit about what these segment videos are going to be. Essentially, we're going to take all the races in one quarter, Ethan, basically one calendar quarter, and we're going to give away some awards in that we call segment. And we've just given away our awards for segment one. That's this show. You could expect 3 more shows plus a banquet wrap-up from Ethan and I throughout the course of the year. Essentially, we're going to cover some B-roll, which is action shots from the races. We're going to cover those award winners, Ethan. We're going to talk about our sponsors and thank our fans and try to do the best we can to do a little wrap-up video for the series and the group of professionals we have as owners, drivers, and enthusiasts such as yourself. Our first order of business for segment one is to discuss our recent visit to RE Enterprises and the awards presentations that Ethan and I had the luxury of making to the drivers and the crew. We filmed this live at RE Enterprises. Here's the footage. Our first award of the night goes to Bubba Jones for the RC2 Performance Parts Hard Charge Award. Our second award for Week 419 is the Willwood Tough Brake Award to Nick Woosley. Our next award for the Week 419 is the Kaiser Wheel Award to Rick Kaler. Moving on to Week 26, our next award is the Quartermaster Gift Certificate to Mr. Jimmy Jones. Our next award for Week 426, the R2C Performance Products Award, goes to Rick Kaler. Also for Week 426 is Johnny Walker for making it inside the top 10 in points. Moving along to Week 510 2014, Bubba Jones wins the R2C Award. Week 510 award, Kaiser Wheel Certificate, goes to Ryan Roy. This next award is brought to you by one of our new sponsors, Zimco Headers, and is the Hot Performer Award for the Best Average Heat Finishes. The award goes to Tyler Watley. Our next segment, our quarterly award, Perfect 10 Award, finishing 10th place in points over the first series of race weeks, goes to Nick Woosley. Our next award is brought to you by a new sponsor, Alky Diggers. It's a $200 gift certificate going to the Sportsman Award, which is best all-around representative of the Mid-South Sprint Car Association in the paddock, and that award goes to Bubba Jones. Our next segment sponsor is also voted on by their peers. This goes to the Sportsman of the first segment for the car owners, the Droma Fuel from Whittington Paving, and that award goes to Larry Stevens. Our next award is also a segment, a quarterly award. This is a draw for some free race graphics from Extreme Race Graphics Company in Marion, Arkansas. The lady will pick
Lenny Green.
Ethan and I would like to congratulate all of the winners from segment one, and we wish all the competitors luck and success in segment two of the Mid-South Sprint Car Association series. Now, we're going to spend a little time taking a peek at a couple of interviews that I did when we were at RE with some of the noticeables in the series. This is Jim Daniels with you with the Mid-South Sprint Car Association on GoRacingTV.com. I'm here with Brad Bowden, who's tore it up the first segment with the most feature wins of 2. Doesn't sound like a big number, but you got to consider that there's only 3 races with all the rain we've had. Brad, tell us about how this is going in this first segment.
The first segment's been great so far, and we've hooked up on the setup every night. We got something that works good, and it's working out for us, and hoping we just keep it rolling through the rest of the year.
Well, Brad, I'm curious as a race fan. You got Chevy power. Most of the cars have a Chevy power. I'd heard that you'd had Ford power previously. Tell me a little bit about the difference of these power plants from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, a few years ago we got hooked up with the Ford 305, and it was supposedly supposed to put out more horsepower, more torque, but from what I've liked, I prefer the Chevy. Like it runs better, it comes off the corner better to me, and that's just what I prefer. That's just more my style.
Well, look, we could talk to each other because we're race fans and we understand what goes on, but what the fans like to hear is some of the inside stories. Why don't you give us a couple of lines here on what your driver communication system is used for at the track?
We have a receiver communication which lets the officials talk to us as far as if a yellow comes out or what the lineup needs to be or who needs to go where. It just speeds the show up and keeps it running smoothly.
That's great, Brad. Now, before we close, I know you got a lot of great sponsors. Why don't you name a few of those that's real important to you in your program?
We got Taylor Diesel, which is a huge help to us. Ray's Automotive and J&J Repair are the 3 big guys that just get us there every weekend, and we appreciate everything they do for us.
Well, I know you got a lot of sponsors, a lot of support. This is somebody to watch, guys. I'm sure World Outlaws will be calling, knocking on this kid's door in the next season or 2. I got a young man beside me who's one of my favorite drivers because he's a man after my own heart. Started racing when he's 7 years old in go-karts, 5 years in karts, 5 years in 250cc sprint cars, a few years, 4 years in the 600cc sprint cars, moved up to the 305 class. He's been tearing it up, 3-4 championships along the ways, some undefeated seasons. Someone definitely to watch. I wanted to get him on camera. Tyler, tell me how this first segment's going for you, bud.
It's going pretty good. Started off the season pretty hot with the first time ever being in the sprint car. Won the heat race and looped it in the feature. Just completely missed the setup. Ever since then, it's been doing pretty well. Definitely a surprise to me to be able to do this well in the 305. And other than that, I'm waiting to see how the rest of the year is going to play out.
Well, look, you got a lot of parents out there with kids. You got a lot of teenagers out there that's racing. What was the biggest surprise or the biggest change from driving style you had to do, moving from a 600 small mini sprint to the big car?
Basically, it's all in track size and car size for me. The mini sprint, it was basically confined to you. I mean, it was your body length, and you could really dart around and go in little bitty tiny holes and basically go anywhere on the racetrack and stay full throttle. Whereas on the sprint car, you really got to slow it down, and you're sitting like you're sitting in a chair, so you've got 5 feet of car in front of you, and that's biggest transition to me was getting used to there being more car out in front of me and having to watch where I'm putting my front end. And it's just a bigger car, and it carries a lot more speed into the corner than the 600 does.
That's great insight on switching from those two cars. I learned a few things right there myself. Who do you think in you guys' series? You got a lot of young guns in here. Who's a top dog? Who are you gunning for this year?
Basically, the Brad Bowden 139. He's been the top dog for the past couple years, and basically it's that and the old timer Eddie Gallagher. You just growing up watching Eddie Gallagher race and win races, and now I'm out here competing with him. Well, I want to beat him, and of course watching Brad's dad Jim race and win, and now Brad winning. You just kind of want to beat those guys and prove yourself to them, and those are the two guys that I really want to beat this year, and not only beat them, but beat them regularly.
Well, that's what we all want to do, is finish at the front and beat them regularly, right? I know you couldn't do this without some supporters. Who's helping you on this card and make this happen for you?
Well, first and foremost, my dad. He was the one got me into racing, and he's followed me every step of the way. And I've got Goldie's Body Works. They've helped every step of the way in some sort. FSR Radiators and Racing Products. F&F Construction, he's also helped every step of the way. And a new sponsor that we picked up in the past couple years is Hardin Automotive. He's helping out with the engine maintenance and keeping the engines up. And there's just so many of the list that's helped out along the way. And those are the ones that really made it possible.
All right, that's Tyler Watley. Certainly a standout. He's shooting for Brad Bowden, and we should have just a knockdown, drag-out fight between these two young guys and Mr. Gallagher, who I've watched since I was a child as well, in this second segment of the Midsouth Sprint Car Association series. For GoRacingTV.com, I'm Jim Daniels. Ethan and I are very proud to be a part of this Midsouth Sprint Car Association. We're hoping in the coming segments that we'll have actually more race recaps and more race information about the individual events. With the rainouts, and the missed races from Ethan and I not going to some of these events, limited what race recap information that we have. We're going to call on the drivers and the crew and the family to use social media to help everyone out there stay involved with what's happening on a week-in and week-out basis. And also, anyone out there that's writing press releases for your race team, if you would submit those to them, we'll get them included in the video. We've got some neat ways for you to be involved with the series and find out what's going on, either if it's just race recap information, series information, so on and so forth. Ethan, tell us a little bit about our social media.
If you're interested in what we're doing, go to our webpage. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Use the hashtag MSCA305 to tag us in a photo or any event at the racetrack.
That's right. Using that hashtag MSCA305, right? Should be on your screen right now. That's going to be the best way for us to keep a string of conversations going about what's happening in the paddock, rainouts. If you're already at the track and you see some of your buddies hadn't got there, you can use that hashtag MSCA305 to keep everybody in the loop, and we can tag and monitor all of these conversations with the various topics that they may be. For Ethan Kaiser, the board members and general members, drivers, and team owners with the Mid-South Sprint Car Association, I'm Jim Daniels. Thank you. That wraps up our first segment awards for the 2014 season. Before I go, I want to thank some of our new sponsors this segment: Kaiser Wheels, Zimco Hot Performance, Alki Digger, and Whittington Paving. We really appreciate you guys being on board. Stay tuned for more action in segment 2 of the Mid-South Sprint Car Association right here on GoRacingTV.com.